Ontario's Bill 60 is here, and it finally gives the landlord some real power to deal with the tenants who don't pay rent. For many of us, this is the moment we have been waiting for. A potential end to the nightmare of professional tenants and the endless delays at the Landlord and Tenant Board. On paper, it looks like the landlord's dream come true. But what if I told you the same bill that's supposed to solve the biggest tenant problem might also be designed to bankrupt you? Stay with me, because I'm going to break down this incredible new power this law gives you. More importantly, I'm going to reveal the hidden poison pill buried inside this legislation. A poison pill that could drop your rental income and leave you financially ruined. This isn't fear-mongering. It's about connecting the dots on a government strategy that's playing out right now. And if you're a small landlord, you are directly in the crosshairs. My name is John Karamzad, and I have been in the real estate trenches of Ontario Real Estate Board for years as both a landlord and an analyst. I have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I am here to give you the unvarnished truth about the Fighting Delays Building Faster Act 2025. That's the Bill 60's real name. Actually means for your bottom line. For years, small landlords in Ontario have been begging for a level playing field. We felt like hostages in a broken system where professional tenants can live rent-free even for years, while we go into debt paying the mortgage on a property we can't control. Bill 60 at a first glance seems like the answer to our prayers. The government has finally handed us some tools to fight back, and three major changes feel like a dream for the landlords. First and most importantly, fast evictions for non-payment of rent. Under the old rule, if the tenant didn't pay rent, you'd serve an N4 notice and wait 14 days before you could even file with the Landlord and Tenant Board. Bill 60 slices that time in half, down to just 7 days. This is a game changer. It sends a clear message that rents aren't optional. For those tenants who play the system, this shortened timeline is a powerful deterrent. It dramatically cuts down the time a non-paying tenant can live in your property for free. The second dream come true is the new rules stopping tenants from raising new issues out of the blue at a rent arrears hearing. We have all heard the horror stories. You're finally at a hearing for a tenant who hasn't paid for 6 months, and suddenly they claim that the fridge has been broken for a year or you have been harassing them. The whole process gets derailed and adjourned for months. While you're still not getting paid, Bill 60 proposes to stop this ambush tactic by requiring that a tenant cannot raise new issues at a rent arrears hearing unless they've paid 50% of the rent owed. This is huge. It forces the hearing to focus on the main issue, the unpaid rent, and stop tenants from using unrelated claims as a cynical ploy to delay their evictions. And the third major win for us is the change to landlord's own use evictions, the N12 process. Previously, if you needed to move into your own property or have a family member move in, you had to give notice and pay the tenants 1 month rent as compensation. Bill 60 scraps that compensation rule. As long as you give the tenant 120 days notice, this gives you more flexibility and control over your own asset. If your life changes, a kid needs a place to live, you're getting divorced, or you just need your home back, you're no longer financially penalized for it. When you add it all up, faster evictions, an end to hearing ambushes, and more control over your own property, Bill 60 looks like a single biggest legislative win for the Ontario landlords in a generation. So problem solved, right? We got what we wanted. The nightmare is over. Well, not so fast. While we were all celebrating these much needed changes, we might have missed the bigger picture. We focused on the fine print of the Residential Tenancies Act, but we ignored the name of the bill itself. There is a reason the government called it Fighting Delays, Building Faster Act. Fixing the Landlord and the Tenant Board was only half the story. The real goal was to crank up the supply of rental housing. On the surface, this sounds great. but the government buried a poison pill in this bill and is designed to drop the value of your rental property. They've given you a sword to fight your tenants' battles, but at the same time, they've started to flood and threaten to drown your entire investment. This is the part of the story nobody's talking about, the part that turns the dream into a potential nightmare. The building faster part of the Bill 60 isn't just a catchy phrase, it's the whole point. The bill is packed with measures to streamline approvals and push for a rapid construction of new housing across the province. The government's main strategy to solve the housing crisis is simple: flood the market with supply. For years, that made sense. Ontario had a huge housing shortage, rock bottom vacancy rates, and soaring immigration. But today's market is not the same as it was 5 years ago. And this is where the poison pill starts to kick in. The first part of the nightmare is a huge shift in the market conditions. After years of record low vacancies, the trend is reversing fast. A Q1 2025 report from Urban Nation showed that vacancy rates in the GTA were at their highest since 2021, hitting 3.7% in Toronto. Proposed built rental completion shot up by 173% compared to the previous year, and that number of active condo rental listings up by 29%. At the same time, demand is softening. The federal government has lowered the migration targets, and a slower job market means fewer people are moving into the province. So we have supply skyrocketing just as demand is starting to cool off. The second and scary part of the nightmare is, what does this do to your wallet? Falling rents. It's basic supply and demand. More units fighting for the fewer tenants means only one thing: landlords have to drop their prices. The same Q1 report revealed that the average rents for the new proposed built rentals had already fallen by 2.2% from a year ago. But here's the truly terrifying number. Once you factor in the incentive like 1 month of free rent, which over 60% of new buildings were offering, the effective rent was down 7% year over year. CMHC reports from mid-2025 confirming this, showing advertised rents in the Toronto falling 3.7% compared to the year before. This brings us to the final stage of the nightmare: your personal financial ruin. Let's connect the dots. You, the small landlord, probably bought your property with a big mortgage at a high interest rate. Your monthly costs are fixed, and they're high. For the last few years, you could justify it because rents kept on climbing up. But now, thanks to the very same bill that helped you evict a bad tenant, the market is being flooded with brand new competing units. Imagine your tenant moves out. Now you're competing with a new condo down the street offering 2 months of free rent. To find a tenant, you have to lower your price by $200, then $300, and then by $400 a month. Suddenly your rental income doesn't cover your mortgage, property tax, and maintenance. You are cash flow negative, paying hundreds out of your own pocket every month just to hold on to your investment. While you're celebrating the power to evict a tenant in 7 days, the market dynamics created by the same law could force you to sell your property at a loss. That's the poison pill. Bill 60 solves your micro problem of a one bad tenant, but it created a micro problem that is far more dangerous: a saturated market where the rental income collapses and your investment becomes a financial liability. So where does that leave us with Bill 60? It's both a dream and a nightmare, a double-edged sword of the highest order. The government has given landlords long overdue tools to enforce our contracts and protect our properties. The ability to deal decisively with non-payment and system abuse is a real tangible victory for every small landlord in Ontario. These are rights we should have had long time ago. But we can't let our focus on these wins blind us on the existential threat on the horizon. The core mission of this legislation is to radically increase the housing supply in a market that's already softening. The dream of easily evicting one bad tenant could quickly overshadowed by the nightmare of falling rents and rising vacancies, crushing your cash flow and the value of your asset. The strategic takeaway here isn't to reject the new eviction powers, but to be brutally realistic about the market you're now operating in. Landlords have to get ready for a much more competitive world. Your property needs to be pristine, your service top-notch, and your pricing sharp. The days of easy rent increases are over. The future belongs to the landlords who can run lean and efficient and a competitive business in a market where tenants have abundance of choice. The government may think it has solved the housing crisis, but in the process they may have sacrificed the small landlords who provide the majority of Ontario's rental housing. If you have found this information helpful, please like and subscribe. And if you are selling in Mississauga and Brampton, please send me a text message or give me a call at 416-845-9872. And that leads me to a question for you. I really want you to think about it and leave your answers in the comment below. Are the new eviction powers from Bill 60 worth the flooding rental market and collapsing rents? Is the trade-off we're willing to make? Or should we get rid of the part fighting delays and building faster act? Let me know what you think. Until next time, see you soon.